We seek refuge in God from the onset Satan. In the name of God, the most exalted. Peace and salutation upon Prophet Muhammad and his progeny. Once again, welcome you to our show, Quran and Today's Life. Since you're watching this show, we are talking about, Quran and nowadays and contemporary living time, the issues we're facing with, and we have, the problems or the thing we have to follow by. We are going to evaluate it with the Holy Quran. So today we're going to talk about a new topic which is called donation in Quran. So what Holy Quran says about donation? So our professor, our guest, is from Holy Seminary of Qom, who is called Hujjatul Islam wal Muslimin Ziyai. So we'd like to go to him and know and find out what is this topic and how we can find out and extract more thing about this in Holy Quran. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our show and thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Could you have your introductory words for the beginning?
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I would like to say hello to our audiences, my brothers and sisters, and I hope the best times and the best wishes for them, and inshallah they have good time and enjoy our discussion, inshallah.
Thank you indeed, but as long as you see, I have said about this topic, donation in Holy Quran.
Yes.
So, for the beginning, to commence this, we would like to know what is the donation according to Holy Quran. What Holy Quran says about this?
Okay.
Maybe we need to have some definition at the beginning.
Okay, for giving a definition of donation, we can say that when somebody wants to help a poor guy, for example, someone has some problems in his family expenses and needs some help, a man or woman desirably wants to help the poor guy. We can call this act donation or charity. And in Islam it is accepted, and of course we have very much recommendations regarding this issue, and there are many verses in the Holy Quran that they tells us to have, for example, intentions and actions regarding the donation, and it should be it should play an important role in our life. And if you wish, I want to recite, if you wish, I
it's
want to...
It's very much good, because, to have this recitation at the beginning of the Holy Quran gives us, some blessing, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's the verse from the chapter Baqarah, the second chapter of the Holy Quran, and this is the verse 261. The Almighty God says to the Holy Prophet and the Muslims, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء والله واسع عليم. In this verse, the Almighty God gives us an example for clarifying the value of the donation. And the example is this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when somebody, مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ, the example of those who donate their properties in the way for the sake of God, is in this case that, for example, when somebody put a seed of a wheat under the earth, under the ground, and after giving water to it, and after a span of time, the seed will grow, and a plant will be appeared after a span of time. And then when the plant is growth, we see that it has, for example, Almighty God says 70 bunches, and in each bunch it has 100 single of wheat. And if we count it, we will come to the conclusion of 700 seeds. And the Almighty God says that the example of the one who donate his properties for the sake of God is the same as the one who put a seed under the ground. And as if the one who put the seed under the ground will be achieved 700 single seeds, the one who donate his properties for the sake of God will achieve 700 times more than what he has given to the poor man or woman. We see that Almighty God persuade us in this verse to donate our properties for the sake of Him and to the poor people. And of course, we have so much traditions in this regard. For example, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, the sixth of our infallible imams, 12 infallible imams, says, من أراد أن يدخله الله عز وجل في رحمته ويسكنه في جنته فليحسن خلقه. The Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, anyone, a man or woman, anyone who wants the God enter him to his heaven, he or she should benefit people and give them donations and the poor people. فَلْيَحْسَنْ خَلْقَهُ means he or she should be beneficial for people and should be in a case that poor people can get benefit from him. And
you mean in a society, most of the time we have some rich people and we have some poor people.
Yes.
So in terms of poverty and when we face some needy people, so we have to donate. Is it something obligatory for us or something, we are forced to do it, or something like recommended? It's not very obligatory.
Of course, it is not obligatory in the Islam that somebody donates some of his properties, some of his or her properties. Of course, we have, for example, some obligatory taxes, it is zakat or khums, but donation is something else. And but it is very, very recommended in the religion of Islam. And I said that we have a lot of verses, we have a lot of narrations. Let me give you another example of narrations. It is from Imam Baqir alayhi salam, our fifth infallible Imam. Imam Baqir alayhi salam says, you know that, let me give you this introduction, that Hajj is one of our obligatory injunctions in the religion of Islam, and it is very, very recommended. And you know that because it is the house of God, the home of God, and it is very common for Muslims to go to Hajj. And Imam Baqir alayhi salam says, I wish I can protect a poor family. I can be a protector of a poor family, and I can fulfill their needs, and I can give them, for example, some clothes, some foods, and in a way that I can deny and prevail from their poverty, and when Imam Baqir alayhi salam says, I wish I can do this, and I think that doing this, protecting a poor family is the same as 70 Hajj. For example, somebody earn money and spend it for going to Hajj, not for a single time or 2 times or 3 times or 5 or 10 or 20, not for 70 times. Imam Baqir alayhi salam says, I wish I can protect a poor family, and I desire it more than 70 Hajj. So it is very recommended in the religion of Islam.
Because that you are saying right now, it reminds me something I have heard from like you scholars, that a guy was going to Mecca on the way, has seen a woman is washing a dead, a flesh of, a dead
Yes.
animal. He asked him why you are doing this. He said, because we are running out of money. We don't have, we are poor, so I'm washing it to give it to my children to survive and something like this.
Okay.
So the man, instead of going Hajj, he gave the money to that guy. So would you please give this more for the audience, because maybe I'm not going it very goodly, so you are the expert and you can give them much more better than me.
Okay, this is sure, of course, is a narration, and that guy, when he gives the money to the poor woman, and she spends the money for his family, and he returns, the guy returns to his city and didn't go to the Hajj. And after the pilgrimage returned from the Hajj, they come to him and they said to him, we see you, for example, in Arafat or in the Mecca or somewhere in the Saudi Arabia. He was shocked, and he saw them in his sleep. I think that God says to him, angel said to him that because you spend your money for giving to that poor woman, we put an angel instead of you to do the Hajj instead of you, and your prize is kept. Your prize yes.
Hereafter, you mean?
Yes, in the hereafter.
And so please, thank you. So let's have a short break. We'll be back again and go to know furthermore. Okay, dear audience. We are going to have a short break. We'll be right back, okay? And we'll go to know about the conditions of donation. Okay, stay with us. We'll be back soon. Welcome back. As you're following our program, we are talking about donation according to Holy Quran. And our expert is telling us about this detail. So before going to the break, I told you we're going to talk about the conditions. So let's go and see what are the conditions. Okay, sir, would you please elaborate in this case?
Okay, there are some conditions regarding the donation. And I just want to tell some of them. And the most important one is that somebody who donates his or her properties, he or she must do it just for the sake of God. And if the intention is ruined and it is not for the sake of God, it is for something else. For example,
show off.
Yes, for show off or popularity and something else. The Almighty God would not accept it, and it is rejected. And the example here is that the seed is put on the rock, and you know that, for example, if somebody put a seed on here, for example, imagine it is a rock, and puts a seed on here, it will not be growth, and it is useless. And the other is that in donation, it is recommended that someone who wants to donate some of his or her properties, it should be in his ability, and it is not necessary for her or him, for example, to donate something from his properties that it is in need of it. It is and it is needed for him or her. And there are so much other conditions. For example,
so you mean the thing he or she is going to donate supposed to be something more than his needs or his or her requisites? So
yes,
he can or she
because
can donate.
It is in Arabic we say it is infaq, or in English we say donation. But when somebody gives something from his properties, and for example, it is in he or she is in need of that thing, it is not called infaq. In Arabic, we say to this case we say ithar, and that's the case that, for example, somebody devotes and sacrifices some of his, for example, interests and some of his properties for the sake of God. For example, somebody, he or she is in need of, for example, of this glass or of this, for example, something and in his life. But when he or she sees that, for example, his neighbor is in need of that thing too, he would give it to the neighbor. And we call it ithar. We have
can you bring me one evidence or one to testify this that okay?
Okay, exactly. We have a clear evidence in the Holy Quran regarding this matter, regarding ithar, and that's in chapter Insan. It means chapter human, and in this chapter, from the verse 5 to the verse 9, of course, this chapter, all of it, some of the scholars say that it is regarding these events, but these 4 verses are especially regarding this event that I want to tell you, and that's.
Can you bless us by this, or if there is time to recite it for us to enjoy it?
I will start from the verse 5 of the chapter Insan, of chapter Man. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن الأبرار يشربون من كأس كان مزاجها كافورا عينا يشرب بها عباد الله يفجرونها تفجيرا يوفون بالنذر ويخافون يوما كان شره مستطيرا ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا.
MashaAllah. So, as long as you have recited this, so would you please, okay, because you have mentioned something about sacrifice and donation.
Yes.
What are the difference?
Okay.
Or what is the difference between them?
I said that the difference is here that in donation or infaq, the one, when, for example, donates some of his or her properties, he or she is not in need of that thing. But in ithar or sacrificing or devotion, he or she is in need of that. And the story for these verses is that the children of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam and Lady Fatima salamullah alayha, the daughter of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, got sick. And I mean the Imam Hassan alayhi salam and the Imam Hussein alayhi salam, these 2 sons, they got sick. And the Holy Prophet and some of the companions came to visit, because you know that these 2 sons were the sons of the Holy Prophet in somehow. The Holy Prophet was the grandfather, yeah. Yes. And the Holy Prophet came to visit them. And after visiting, the Holy Prophet said to Imam Ali alayhi salam that, Ya Ali, how do you see that, for example, you take an oath to God if your children healed, you can, for example, do something for the sake of God. And Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam and Lady Fatima salamullah alayha decided to fast 3 days for the sake of God if their children get healed from the pain. And after a short time, after a short span of time, the children, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam, were healed. And Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam and Lady Fatima decided to fulfill their oath. And it is mentioned in the narrations that Ali alayhi salam borrowed some grains for this act. The Lady Fatima Salamullah alayha baked some breads from these grains, and when at the dusk, when they want to break their fast, exactly after the praying of Maghrib, they saw that somebody is knocking on the door, and they opened the door and they saw somebody who is in the verse it is mentioned he was a miskin, he was a poor guy, and he asked something to eat. And because Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam didn't have anything in his house, instead of that bread, he gave that bread to the poor guy. And he went, and it is mentioned in the history that Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam and Lady Fatima broke their fast by water, only by water. And the next day, the second day, they decided to fast because they have taken oath for 3 days. And the second day, they did the fast, and after they would want to break their fast, exactly the same event happened. And at this time, there was an orphan came to their house and knocked the door at the dusk and asked for something. And Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam gave the bread to the orphan. And the third day they fast again because they told their oath for 3 days. And exactly at the same time, someone who was a poor guy came to the door and knocked the door and asked for something. And Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam again for the third time gave the bread to the man. And they broke their fast for 3 times by water, only by water. And after these 3 days, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam went to the Holy Prophet, and he didn't say anything about this matter to the Holy Prophet. But the Holy Prophet came to the house of the Ali alayhi salam together, and the Prophet saw that the face of the children of Lady Fatima salamullah alayha and Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam is so pale, and asked about the matter. And the Imam Ali alayhi salam told the story that was in this case. The Holy Prophet was a little, sad but at the point, just at this point, the angel Gabriel was descended from the God and told something to the Holy Prophet, and this is the sentence that he says. The angel Gabriel said to the Holy Prophet, "Oh, the Prophet of God, oh Muhammad, the Almighty God congratulate you for having this offspring, for having this household." And these verses, the verse 5 to the verse 9 of the chapter Insan or chapter Man, was revealed on that moment. And this is the most clear example for ithar, or devotion, or sacrificing the one interests for the sake of God, and giving other people something which is in need, which the man or woman is in need of that. And that's the story.
Subhanallah, that is a kind of
yes,
sacrifice.
It's really
I was very impressed when I hear this, even I was shut up, I could not say anything because, I just found that is the thing. We have chosen these people as a role model. We follow them.
Of course, it is expected from them because they are infallibles and they are imams, and they are the role for us, and they are our model. And this is an ordinary thing for them. But of course, it is a big lesson for us, and we should choose this way of life in our livings, inshallah.
Inshallah, that's great. We have many people in this world, in this universe. They are, suffering from hunger,
yes,
from poverty. And if we follow, Holy Quran and the recommendations of Prophet Muhammad and Imams, definitely we can have the way of salvation.
Definitely.
Really, I was very impressed of this story. It is very even I cannot say anything because it really impressed me a lot.
Yes, really it is.
Really appreciate you for this story, and I hope
appreciate it too.
all we can follow the way Holy Quran gives us, and the role model and the interpreters of Holy Quran, Imams, they are giving us. So look, this is the way Ali alayhi salam and Fatima al-Zahra and their children, they are showing us. So I wish you enjoy and benefit from these stories and these things as our expert has explained for us. And I wish you the best, and I hope to see you again in next episode of this program. Have a nice time. See you in next time.